Hello guys and welcome to another Tokyo Revengers video. And in this video, I will be talking about the newest episode of Tokyo Revengers. And this video will be an anime review for episode 32 of Tokyo Revengers, and this is the 8th episode of the second season. And this episode covers chapters 100, 101, 102, 103, and 104 of the Tokyo Revengers manga. And in this video series, I will also be comparing the anime to the manga, and I will analyze these episodes to see if there were any scenes that were removed from the source material. And in this episode we will get to see the continuation of the Christmas conflict, and this episode also shows us the climax of this battle. And one of my favorite parts of this episode was getting to see the gradual transformation of Hakkai's mental state, and in this episode we got to see a lot of character development from Hakkai's character. And I really loved seeing the moment where Hakkai broke free of his mental prison, and this moment was showing us that Hakkai has completely changed, and Takemichi was the person who freed Hakkai from this mental prison. And the moment where Hakkai ripped off the Black Dragon uniform was symbolizing that he was breaking free of his mental shackles, and in this moment we saw that Hakkai completely changed. And in this episode we also got to see a major reveal, and this reveal showed us the truth behind Yuzuha's character, and this revelation will force everyone to see Yuzuha in a completely different light. And in this episode there was a very strong thematic element that focused on family, however the biggest theme of this episode was focusing on the theme of loneliness, and this is a very important theme for the story of Tokyo Revengers. And this theme of loneliness was mostly explored with the character Takemichi and Yuzuha, and in this episode we also got to see a lot more character development from Takemichi's character. And in the last episode we saw that Takemichi found his most redeeming quality, and this quality is that he doesn't know when to give up, and in this episode Takemichi is still living true to his ideals. And before the giant battle, we saw that Takemichi made a promise to Chifuyu, and in this promise he swore that he would live true to his ideals, and these last two episodes have shown us that Takemichi is taking this promise very seriously, and this episode is also showing us that Takemichi is staying true to his words. Anyway guys, before I get into this video guys, please like, comment, and subscribe if you want to see more Tokyo Revengers videos. So let's get into the video now. And so this episode starts off by showing us that Takemichi is facing off with Taiyu Shiba, and in this moment they are just staring at each other. And then Takemichi started speaking to Taiyu, and in this moment Takemichi just repeated himself, and he said that if he wins this fight, then he will take control of the Black Dragon's gang. And in the next scene we got to see the reaction of Taiyu Shiba, and we saw that he was so incredibly angry that he had a vein popping out of his forehead. And then we saw that Taiyu punched Takemichi in the face, and Takemichi just ate this punch like it was a burrito. And in this moment the anime added an extra scene that was never in the manga, and in this scene Taiyu grabbed Takemichi by the hair, and he also repeatedly hit him in the face. And then Takemichi started charging at Taiyu, and he said that he is not done yet. And the anime also added an extra scene of Takemichi saying that he is not done yet, and in this added scene Taiyu punched him in the face multiple times. And then Takemichi said that he is not done yet, and then he started screaming. And we saw that Hakkai told Takemichi to stop. And while he was getting punched in the face Takemichi thought to himself that he used to be all alone. And then Takemichi told Hakkai that he is wrong. And then Takemichi thought to himself that he swore that he would change the future after the death of Akin. And while he was fighting against Taiyu, Takemichi thought to himself that little by little everyone accepted him. And then Chifuyu told Takemichi that he has done enough, and he also said that he is going to die. And Takemichi said to himself that even if the odds are against him, he still has no choice but to take this chance so that he can change the future. And then in the next scene we get to see this epic panel where Takemichi was able to land a punch on Taiyu, and in this moment Taiyu and Takemichi were both punching each other in the face. And then we saw that this punch actually made Taiyu fall down to his knees. And then Hakkai started begging Takemichi to stop, however Takemichi just responded to this by saying that he can change the future. And then Takemichi told Hakkai that this cause is worth risking his life for, and then he said that fighting on is not what is painful. And then in the next scene Takemichi went on to tell Hakkai that what hurts more than anything else is actually loneliness. And while he was saying this Takemichi was smiling, and he was also closing his eyes at the same exact time. And then Takemichi told Hakkai that he can talk with him about anything because they are friends. And in this moment Hakkai started crying, and then he started asking Takemichi to help him. And then we saw that Hakkai fell down to his knees, and then he asked Takemichi if he can please save him. And then Takemichi told Hakkai to leave everything to him. Anyway guys, this is where chapter 100 ends, and chapter 101 begins with showing us that Koko and Inupi were very surprised at the fact that Takemichi was able to bring Taiyu to his knees. And then in the next scene we saw that Yuzuha just woke up. And in this moment we also saw that Mitsuya said that the captains of Toman are just that badass. And we also see that Chifuyu was also very impressed by his partner. And Takemichi told Hakkai that he will protect Yuzuha for him. However, in this moment Hakkai told Takemichi about his secret, and this secret is that Yuzuha is actually the person who has been protecting Hakkai for this whole time. And then we got to see this flashback about what really happened, and we saw that Taiyu was telling Yuzuha that she will have to take twice the amount of beatings. And Hakkai said that he lied about him protecting Yuzuha, and Yuzuha is the one who has been protecting him for this whole time. And in this moment we got to see a backstory of Yuzuha, and Yuzuha was protecting Hakkai from Taiyu. And Yuzuha was crying, and she asked Taiyu why he broke his promise about hitting Hakkai. And then we saw that Taiyu said that Yuzuha is just making excuses. And then Taiyu started dragging Yuzuha and Hakkai, and he was getting ready to beat them up. And Koko started making fun of Hakkai. And we saw that Yuzuha reacted to this by defending Hakkai, and she said that it is not Hakkai's fault. And this moment is another big display of the sisterly love that Yuzuha has for Hakkai, and even when she has been beaten to a bloody pulp, the only thing Yuzuha is worried about is protecting Hakkai both mentally and physically. And then Hakkai started apologizing to Takemichi for dragging him into his lie. And Takemichi responded to this apology by telling Hakkai that he really sucks. However, Takemichi also said that he used to suck even more. And then Mitsuya started telling Hakkai that he is not the only person who wants to run away, and in this moment Mitsuya gave a speech about his family, and he also told Hakkai about a story from his childhood. And then Mitsuya said that everyone here is weak, however that is the reason why they have their friends and family to help each other. And in this moment we see that Mitsuya, Chifuyu, and Takemichi all got up, and in this moment Takemichi told Hakkai that they would never even think about abandoning him over a lie like that. And this moment was showing us that all the Toman members were standing together in solidarity, and this moment really did an amazing job of showing us the true ideals of the Tokyo Manji gang. And this moment also showed us the true purpose of the Tokyo Manji gang, and the reason why I say this is because the reason why Toman was created was because Baji literally said that he wanted a gang where everyone would protect each other, and this moment really showed us that this theme is coming full circle. And then Takemichi yelled that this is what Toman is all about. Anyway guys, this is where chapter 101 ends, and chapter 102 begins with showing us that Hakkai suddenly threw off his black dragon uniform, and this moment is symbolizing that Hakkai has officially broken free from the shackles that were placed on him by Taiyu. And these shackles were more in a mental sense, and this was shown because Hakkai was extremely scared of Taiyu. However, after Takemichi broke these mental shackles, we saw that Hakkai's disposition completely changed. And then Hakkai told everyone to stand back, and then he said thank you to everyone because he is not afraid anymore. And in this moment Hakkai told Taiyu that he is never putting on the black dragon uniform ever again. And in this moment Taiyu started confronting Hakkai, and he got up in front of his face, and in this moment Taiyu aggressively asked Hakkai if he is going to defy his own family. And in this moment Yuzuha started yelling for Taiyu to stop hurting Hakkai. However, out of nowhere we suddenly saw that Hakkai punched Taiyu in the face with a right hook. And in this moment Hakkai declared that he is the 2nd Division Vice Captain of Toman. And then Hakkai said that he is going to beat up Taiyu so that he can protect his family. And in this moment Chifuyu realized that Hakkai has changed, and then Chifuyu told Takemichi that the future is going to change. And in this moment the anime added many scenes that were never in the manga, and we just saw that Hakkai was fighting against Taiyu. And then Taiyu suddenly punched Hakkai in the face, and this punch pinned his head on the floor. And then Taiyu started crying, and then he asked God why he has to kill his own family members. And while he was saying this Taiyu was punching Hakkai, and he was also saying that he loves his family so much. And in this scene we saw that Yuzuha was calling out to Hakkai. And then Taiyu turned to the Toman members, and he told them that they are going to die because he has 100 of his most powerful subordinates that are all surrounding the church. And Takemichi responded by saying that he was never going to run away, and he also said that he has to defeat the Black Dragons. And in this moment Mitsuya started speaking to Yuzuha, and then he told Yuzuha that he majorly respects her because she has been protecting Hakkai for all this time all by herself. And then we see that Yuzuha started crying. And then Mitsuya went over to Yuzuha, and then he started patting her on the head, and then he told Yuzuha that now it is their turn. Anyway guys, this is where chapter 102 ends, and chapter 103 begins with showing us the backstory of Yuzuha Shiba, and we see that she is sitting in the hospital with her mother. And her mother asked Yuzuha if she likes her father. And Yuzuha responded to this by saying that she doesn't know because she almost never talks to him because he is almost never home. And her mother apologized to Yuzuha, and then she said that she will protect Yuzuha. And Yuzuha just replied to this by telling her mother not to worry about it. And Yuzuha was narrating this backstory, and she said that her mother died very soon after this moment. And we get to see a scene of Yuzuha sitting at her mother's grave, and Yuzuha was talking to her mother. And then we saw that Yuzuha promised her mother that she would protect their family. And in this next scene we see that Yuzuha started breaking down into tears, and in this moment Yuzuha asked her mother if she will please hug her again someday. And then Yuzuha told us that after the death of their mother, Taiyu started beating them every single day. And in this backstory we saw that Yuzuha was protecting Hakkai from Taiyu, and Yuzuha was taking twice the amount of beatings so that she could protect Hakkai, and she took the beatings for him. And Taiyu was telling Yuzuha that he is going to beat her up. And Yuzuha was on her knees begging Taiyu to let her take the beatings for Hakkai, and the fact that Yuzuha is on her knees is showing us that even as a child she was so mature that she was willing to humiliate herself in order to protect her family. And this also shows us how serious Yuzuha takes the promise that she made to her mother, and this also shows us that she stays true to her word. And in this moment Yuzuha thought to herself that for all those years she protected Hakkai all by herself. And Yuzuha said that this is the reason why she instantly took the chance that Kisaki gave to her. And we get to see the scene of Yuzuha taking the knife, and she thought that she had to do it all by herself. And then the next scene shows us that Takemichi is fighting against Taiyu Shiba, and Mitsuya, and Chifuyu are fighting against Koko and Inupi. And in this moment Yuzuha thought about her flashback where she was crying, and she was promising Hakkai that she would protect him in their mother's place. And then the episode shows us that Hakkai declared that he is going to protect Yuzuha even if it is the very last thing that he does. And in this moment we saw that Yuzuha reacted to this by starting to cry. And in this scene we saw that the spirit of Yuzuha's mother suddenly appeared behind Yuzuha, and in this moment she was hugging Yuzuha from behind. And in this moment Yuzuha said thank you to everyone. And then Hakkai started holding up Takemichi, and then he apologized to Takemichi. And Taiyu told Hakkai that he is an idiot who was going to lose everything, however Hakkai just responded to this by telling him to shut up, and Hakkai also said that he is going to learn his lesson in hell. And then we see that Takemichi suddenly heard a noise, and in this moment Mitsuya suddenly said that he heard the sound of Mikey's motorcycle. Anyway guys, this is where chapter 103 ends, and chapter 104 begins with showing us that Mikey suddenly arrived on the scene, and he is walking up the staircase. And Takemichi said that since Mikey is here now they can win. And Mitsuya started questioning what Mikey would think about the fact that they broke the truce. And then in the next scene we get to see that Mikey suddenly entered the church, and in this moment Mikey started wishing everyone a Merry Christmas. And then Mikey just started smiling at the Toman members, and in this moment Mikey asked them what they are doing on a day like this. And I thought that Mikey looked very amazing in this moment, and I really enjoyed seeing this badass entrance from Mikey. Anyway guys, this is where this episode ends, and this is the end of this video. Anyway guys, if you guys enjoyed this video, and want to see more like it, then like, comment, and subscribe. And thank you for watching.